These four pieces of advice that I'm going to give you in this episode are the reason why I'm a multi-millionaire to this day. And anytime I start getting lazy, I end up not prioritizing these things that I'm going to teach you. Without a doubt, I pay a price and really quickly. Conversely, as long as I'm focused on these and I prioritize these, I also generate abundance from it. And when I say paying a price and generating abundance, I don't just mean monetarily. That's a big factor, but I'm talking in how you're feeling in your health, in your mindset, in your soul, in your relationships, and feeling connected and passionate, in your peace, in all areas of your life. Some of these are going to blow your mind, and they're all simple enough where you can start them immediately from listening to this episode. So now you can be on your way to making millions and draw in that abundance that you so deserve and desire. Just wait. If you're tired of hearing the same old basic mindset and motivational fluff talk, you've come to the right show. Welcome to Project Me with Tiffany Carter, the podcast, where we dish on everything from managing that crazy brain of yours to manifesting abundance to my straightforward, actionable steps that will make you major money online. Now, I'm not your typical multimillionaire entrepreneur. It takes a small village to keep my anxiety and depression in check. I'm inherently disorganized with an intense obsession with office supplies. Your girl here is a digital marketing content expert who's generated over $200 million in sales. I promise by tuning in twice a week, you will get a much needed refreshing dose of truth, clarity, and cash making advice. Now let's get to it. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your abundance, your relationships, and everything in between. As I'm also recording this for ProjectME TV over on YouTube, I'm looking at myself often while I'm talking to you guys. And it is not lost on me that I look crazy today, and that's okay. You want to know why? Zero fucks given. I think we were long overdue for the ZFG, and you will hear this in my four pieces of advice. And these are responsible for getting me to multimillionaire status from starting out at $17,000 a year. I know how enchanting, intriguing it can be when you hear someone, see someone, meet someone who has had a great deal of success and in a way that sounds good to you, right? Like not where you're stomping on other people or doing illegal activity, but actually doing something that you love. And I used to have people where I would just be mesmerized by them and so curious, like, how did they get there? You know, if it was someone where you're like, okay, like they grew up in some prominent family, so that makes sense. That didn't really get me. It was the people that you've never heard of, the people who came from little, the people who have a lot of adversity. And I'm still highly intrigued by it. It's just a little different because I'm now one of those people. But one of my main goals and promises to you with Project Me with Tiffany Carter, the podcast and the Business Coaching Academy, is to rip the curtain open of business, of monetizing your skills, passions, talents, and intellectual property, how to monetize things online, how to make more and work less, the whole inner workings of a true abundance mindset. And where we're not dancing around it and you're not getting some like basic fluff or even worse, circle talk, because I can't stand that. And truly what I found is most of the social media channels, YouTube channels, and even podcasts, they're so fucking basic. But apparently people obviously like basic. And I'm not going to like out any shows. I'm not throwing shade. But there are these shows that are super popular that have, you know, hundreds of millions of downloads where it would literally be a waste of my time to listen to, even if I was like multitasking, getting ready in the morning. And that's my biggest fear. I never want to waste your time. I want you not only walking away feeling lighter, feeling more energized, having something to chew on, something to think about, a perspective shift. I want that, but I also want you to feel like you've got someone next to you riding along in this wild life that we're in. I mean, I know what it's like to have nobody. Really. I have one living relative, my mom. We're no contact. She's a narcissist. And that's it. So my friends are my family. I have a very small inner circle. If you've been listening, I just lost my longtime mentor and friend of 21 years suddenly, and it's like, I don't have some big group of people and family rallying behind me. And that wasn't my path. And I think the reason, because I do believe there's a divine backing with all of us, because everyone faces adversity and everyone has a leg up, as I say. But I feel the reason is because that way I resonate with you. Because if it was possible for me, if it's possible for me to be sitting here at my second house, my manifestation, a beach house, looking at the waves while looking crazy, no makeup on, a neck wrap, unwashed hair, speaking from my heart to you, sharing my knowledge while knowing I'm making thousands and thousands of dollars, even while doing this. And people are happy and delighted to pay me for what I provide and what help that they get. I want to read something to you because this is going to really cement in for you of you not doing the damn thing and being determined and resilient and showing up until it works. How in a way it's selfish if it's something you genuinely want to do in your heart and soul. If it's not, then I don't want you to do it, and that's okay. There's no judgment. Not everyone's meant to do this shit. All right, I mean, this not everyone has the capacity, has the for the uncomfortable. There's always a different sides to things in life. Whether someone wants to be a music artist, whether you want to be an influencer, whether you want to make a ton of money helping people, whether you want to speak on stages, you want a big podcast, you want to have an amazing e-commerce store. If it was a straightforward line, super easy, didn't bring up any shit, everyone would be doing it. It brings up a lot of our stuff, which is what the goal is of this show, and also my Make More Work Less guided workbook video course. Because if you are not managing the noise in your mind, not just money stuff, that's a big part of it, but self-doubt, uncertainty, you're not managing that, it's not going to happen for you. It'll be impossible. You know why? You'll take your foot off the gas when things get uncomfortable, when you're not getting the validation that you are convincing yourself that you need. And then you'll eventually quit, and it won't happen. You'll quit, in fact, before the big moment happens. This is an example of someone who didn't quit. I literally got this 58 minutes ago from Nicole Barton. I came across Tiffany's TikTok while doom scrolling a couple of weeks before Thanksgiving. Started putting some of the practical mindset steps into practice almost immediately that she shares. I decided a little over a week ago to grab the guided workbook and started binging her podcast. It was the best thing I could have ever done for myself. I have a sticky note on my computer monitor that says, do it for the after, quote unquote. And then she put, if you know, you know. And it's true. If you know, you know. Do it for the after seems to be a key takeaway phrase from my new guided workbook course. Love yourself enough to do it for the after. This has been life-changing for me, and I'm really just getting started. Below is a screenshot of my Shopify account from a short course I'll be teaching tonight and tomorrow. My reach isn't huge yet, but it will be by the time I roll this out to a larger audience in January. And then I'm showing it on the screen, and YouTube, obviously, that doesn't work in audio. But I mean, the payouts are legit. I mean, look at that. Her payouts were, she's got $1,942, $1,743, $582, $1,164, $635, $291. Then there's another $582. Those are just her payouts for 1 week, the 7 days of her listening to the podcast and doing the Make More Work Less guided workbook video course, which is my promise to you. Not a guarantee, because I can't guarantee you're going to show up and follow through, but that is my promise in 7 days or less that you can transform your money story if you show up and do the damn thing. I have a holiday special going on right now for it where you get 57% off. You can go to projectmewithtiffany.com/make more work less. projectmewithtiffany.com/make more work less. You can swipe up. That link is also in the show notes and in the description on YouTube. And I don't know what to tell you. Will be the best investment that you've ever made. Instead of buying a bunch of nonsense on holiday sales and buying another workout outfit and going out to dinner multiple times in a week and getting takeout, it'll be the best $377 you've ever spent. I feel very comfortable with that. And at least in a long time, I feel very, very strongly about that. Let's get into these 4 pieces of advice. Number 1, stop saying sorry. I used to be the I'm sorry person. And let me know in the comments here on YouTube if you're out yourself. Are you an I'm sorry person? I would say I'm sorry to everything. I would have to scoot behind someone in the grocery store and wouldn't even touch them. It's not like I bumped them. Sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry. Then I would even like bump into a couch or a table by myself at my house and I'd apologize to an inanimate object. Here's why I want you to stop saying sorry. And I don't mean stop saying sorry in situations that warrant it. When you're always saying sorry, then when it comes time to genuinely make amends and apologize for something, it has no potency. It's like people who are always saying, love you, love you, love you, love you. It's said so cavalier, it loses its potency. But there's a bigger reason. When you're in that space of saying sorry like that, you're really saying like, sorry, I'm bothering you. Sorry for my existence. Sorry, it's a weakening. You're shrinking down. It's a low vibrating energy and it sends a weak signal out there. It really lowers your abundance. It's sending this weakness signal that I'm not worthy. I'm taking up space. I can't do anything right. And when you have that going out energetically, you're going to get that in return. So you're going to end up, I'm being straight up here, you're going to end up attracting a lot of toxic people. I've seen it over and over again with friends, with clients, and this is how I lived most of my life. Because what do toxic people love? Someone who's always taking the fucking blame. And I know where this comes from you. It comes from childhood or you're in a dysfunctional workplace. It came from that spot and then it becomes like a weird habit. So you need to consciously stop saying that. So we have to replace it with something. So instead, let's say someone comes over here, like I had my spray tan girl come over here a couple weeks ago, and it looked crazy in here. I'm not a messy person. I also have a house manager, but I can get, when I'm not of sound mind, I have piles. It's like organized chaos. Not really disorganized chaos, really. It was crazy. And I almost said, even though I'm very cognizant of this, I almost said, I'm so sorry it looks crazy in here. We don't need to apologize for such things. And it almost came out of my mouth. And so I switched it to just warning you, it's a little crazy in here, a little wild in here. And she laughed. She's like, girl, you should see my house. So you're going to end up catching yourself. You might already have it come out like, oh, I'm so sorry I'm late. Now, if you're genuinely late and you've really wasted someone's time, but you can still say it in a different way that's energetically empowering. Okay. So if I'm even 2 minutes late for something, and that's not kosher, I think it's very important to acknowledge that. So I will say my apologies for being late. You can still apologize, but do you see the difference? I'm so sorry I'm late. I tried to get out of the house. My apologies for being a couple minutes late. And then move on. Much stronger, right? So when you're doing something like maybe you bump someone at the airport, or I don't know, you were in someone's way in a parking lot, just practice this. Don't fucking say sorry. Okay. Sorry. You're saying sorry for being a human being, right? Maybe say oopsie. That's a good one. You could also do the my apologies. You could also say something like, well, today is certainly not my day. I feel like I'm getting in everyone's way at the moment, and make even a joke of it and make light of it. But no more sorries. You interrupt somebody when you're talking because you're excited about what they have to say. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, you don't need to do that, right? You can say, oh, excuse me, I cut you off. You know, that's fine. It's the energy behind it. All right. And we have to stop saying this weak signal. Second thing, you're going to be shooketh over this. This isn't, oh, these are all big, but this one is, oof, this one's potent. Stop outsourcing your need for validation. Bring that validation in house. Stop looking for someone else to tell you you're doing the right thing. You are going to be successful. You do have it in you. It is possible for you. You are worthy of someone paying you for this. You are doing the right thing. You've got this. That can be gravy. That can be nice. That can just be an added thing. But I can't have you be dependent on it. I used to be dependent on it as well. And then you're fucked. Because when we depend on something outside of ourselves and our higher source, our higher power, God, the universe, angels, whatever your thing is, I have the whole committee. It's dangerous because it's fleeting and it's usually never going to be enough. Validation is an inside job. This is not an external job. And I grew up with someone where they didn't even have the capability of having internal validation. Narcissism is a disease of desperate external validation. And it's really sad when we see people like this. But then there's a whole range in between where it's not necessarily narcissism, but it's such insecurity. It's like looking at views, looking at how many comments you get, how many downloads you get, how many clients you have, what this person says, what this person didn't say. Am I getting sales? Am I not getting sales? Is this working? What does my partner think? What does my family think? What do the people online think? It doesn't fucking matter. What is it you think? Because when we outsource it, you are sending the signal to yourself and the universe that all this external stuff is going to determine whether or not you should keep going, whether or not you should keep showing up, whether or not you should pursue this passion, whether or not you should pursue this calling that's on your heart, your vision, your dream. Do you think Jesus, God, Buddha, Allah, and I'm sure I'm missing many, do you think that they would have been able to do what they did just based on external validation? Do you think any of the public figures that you look at, whether they're an artist, whether they're an actor, whether they're an inventor, a creator, a healer, look at all the adversity they went through, all the people who threw them under the bus, all the shade. There's hate pages for all these people, hundreds of them. If they were dependent on only external validation, like from their fan base to keep going, they'd be screwed, because the amount of people who also throw shade and hate them is equally as high as their fan base. We need to work on being your own internal cheerleader. And I can fall into this if I am not prioritizing this stuff, of making sure I'm taking care of myself, I'm prioritizing myself, I'm speaking to myself kindly, really taking a daily inventory of my thoughts. What kinds of behaviors make me feel better about myself or worse, right? Like the person I read to you who wrote the beautiful thing about doing the workbook and shared what happened to her within 7 days and the thousands of dollars she made. She found me doom scrolling. And I have dozens and dozens and dozens of emails and DMs and messages from people that have found me doom scrolling. Maybe you found me doom scrolling. And what a blessing, because that was a wake-up call from the universe saying, hey, you're doom scrolling, and I'm going to throw you a bone here to wake you up and to not do that. So if I'm scrolling too much, I start going into comparison. My self-care is off. I'm eating too much sugar. I'm not moving my body. I'm not doing my daily abundance walks, which, by the way, if you've not done those, this is a whole vibe and you want this, and they're free. So you can go to projectmewithtiffany.com/season of abundance. And I'm saying that where I'm like, is that the vanity link? The link will be in the description in YouTube and in the show notes. Daily practice. Even better if you also do some kind of a morning practice and an evening practice. What are you doing to pour into yourself and to validate yourself? I promise you, no one is going to give you enough external validation to make up for your own wildness in your brain of, can I do this? Is this going to work? Because the more you're needing and seeking external validation, the less it likely for you to have the abundance and for it to happen. I just got a wild email before I came on here. And obviously, I'm not going to share details out of respect for this person, but I could tell they're in a full fucking spiral. Full spiral. I did this and no one bought during Black Friday. I did this and no one did this. And I'm bleeding money and da 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 and a whole thing. And I mean, I need to know, is this possible? Is this possible? Like, da da, and going. I mean, it was like a full page single space. In desperate seeking of external validation. And I recognize it and I empathize with it. And no, I didn't respond. I am not in charge of my emails. My coordinator is, but with certain emails, she does pass them on to me. Like, how do you want me to reply to this? And I said, I think we need to sit on it, because she's currently in a zone of needing the drug of validation. I've been there. I know, where you're calling all the friends and polling them. You're scanning, you're refreshing to see how many views your fucking video got. You're looking at the back end of your sales stuff to see how many people bought. And then you start looking at other people in your industry and you're like, God, why do they seem so busy? Or why do they have all these followers? You're looking for that dose of heroin, that dose of dopamine, and you have to be able to give it to yourself, because it's so unattractive being in that state, and it is repelling everything that you want. So that probably just woke you up. We're insourcing. We're insourcing now, not outsourcing. That's a new term. Let's insource this shit. And let go of this outsourcing your validation. Leave that behind in 2023. Leave that behind today. Third thing, your no's and yeses. Whether you're saying no, whether you're saying yes, you have to mean it. So if you say no to something, not doing something. You can say no in many different ways. It doesn't have to be verbally. It doesn't have to be in writing. You can say no by way of your behavior, by way of avoidance, by way of procrastinating, by way of self-sabotaging, where you take a long time to respond to someone about something. You put something off. You don't put your all into something. There's so many different ways that you can non-verbally and behaviorally say no, even though it's something that you really want. So here's an example. You're saying that you want a different money story for yourself and for your life, and you're tired of this fucking merry-go-round. You're tired of being in this financial limbo. You don't want it anymore. You do see what's possible. I mean, for the love of God, there's 13-year-olds making $17 million a year on YouTube playing video games. Okay. There's a lady who is making $1 million a month eating shellfish on YouTube with giant long nails talking nonsense. You know that it's there and it's available for you, yet you don't do anything about it. Even though you're listening to this show, which is good, that's an action, but you've not really invested any more than that, right? You've not done my Make More, Work Less guided workbook video course, right? Like you're not really going next level with your action and investment of time, energy, and money in this thing that you're saying you want. That is a form of you saying no, even though you're saying, yes, I want the abundance. And then let's look at it on the other hand, the people-pleasing side. You say yes to helping someone. You say yes to doing this thing for this person. You say yes going to this party. You say yes going to this lunch. You say yes, you're going to help someone. You say yes to, I don't know, agreeing to watch someone's kids for the night. But the real answer is no. So your yeses don't mean yes and your no's don't mean no anymore. Don't you think this is sending extreme mixed signals to the universe? How could you possibly be manifesting when you're out of integrity with yourself and your signals aren't clear? Basically, you're on a station that is all static. It can't read where you're at, because you're all over the place and you're likely in a confused state and you're lacking clarity and you're likely feeling stuck because your no's don't mean no and your yeses don't mean yeses. So how do you get out of that? You say no when you mean it. You say yes when you mean it. Verbally, in writing, energetically, and behaviorally. And I have to check myself all the time. Sometimes I need to buy myself time if I'm not in a great space. Like right now, I'm in the throes of grieving, and I'm not always thinking clearly when I'm in that spot. It brings up a lot of memories of my father dying, which was also a sudden experience. And I'm doing heavy processing right now. So I've been asked to be on shows. I'm asked to do this. I had someone ask me for help with something in exchange for a lot of money, and didn't matter. Right? Even though my knee-jerk response was I wanted to say yes to these things. Instead, I was like, would it be okay? Does it work for you if I got back to you by early next week? I have a lot going on at the moment mentally, and I want to really give you a concrete, genuine answer. You know how much people respect that? They respect you more than if you just tell them what they want to hear. Because energetically, people can feel when your no was really a yes and your yes was really a no. Absolutely. You can feel it too. Now, especially if you're dealing with an empath, an intuitive, a highly sensitive person like myself. I mean, I can tell when someone is not even leading a yes life. They are doing a job they hate just for the money, and it's really a no for them, but they are showing up like it's a yes. It's incongruent. I can feel it energetically in their entire being, and you can feel it too if that's you. I used to be like that when I was in corporate, and at a certain point I was like, this is crazy. And then what happens? People can feel that. So then, depending on what your profession is, right, you might get passed up for promotions. You might not get that much of a raise. You might get fired. You might not be bringing in as many clients as you used to or sales. And you go, I don't understand what's going wrong. I don't understand why this isn't working. I don't understand. I'm putting all this out there. I'm doing all this stuff, Tiffany. Why isn't it resonating? Why isn't it working? Because you're out of integrity, because your no's and yeses aren't fucking solid. And you're serving up mixed signals to yourself and the universe, which is messy as fuck. This last one, I have a prop for this one. So if you want to see the prop, go over to ProjectME TV on YouTube. This is what I call the zero fucks given zone. You need to be a better steward of your fucks. I have a jar of fucks here. Okay. And inside this jar of fucks, a client sent this to me. Inside this jar are all these little wooden fucks of different colors. Okay. And I keep this front and center on display at this house to remind myself we only have so many fucks on any given day. Some days you have less. You're tired, you didn't sleep, you're hormonal, you have stuff going on in your life, you've been burning the candle at both ends, you've given out way too many of your fucks, you've been loose with the fucks, so now you have even less to give. And this is a reminder for me visually. So I want you to create some kind of reminder. I'm sure you could probably Google jar of fucks and get a jar, or you can create your own and have fun with it. You've been mindlessly giving them out. I'm giving a fuck at the person who cut me off. I'm giving a fuck at someone who wrote a nasty review because I triggered them. I'm giving a fuck to someone who didn't respond to me in the way that I'd hoped. I'm giving too much of a fuck that I have a very painful zit on my nose, which my dermatologists who are listening, my fellow skin obsessed people, you probably can't see it because it's inside my nose. It is so painful. And it's kind of like when you have a lip zit, but a lip zit, I can see easier and I can do something. I do not know what to do with this nose zit. Any suggestions? Absolutely. DM me on Instagram at ProjectME with Tiffany. So when we are not being a better steward of our fucks, we have a fucks leakage. You are giving it out to people, places, and things that do not deserve your precious fucks. You are also giving it away to even nonsense and scarcity beliefs and that inner bully in your head. You're giving too many there. You're giving too many to your ego. This person who I shared with you sent this email. She's giving way too many to her fear. In fact, she gave them all away. I could feel it in that message. I'm not going to take it on. I'm not giving any fucks to that. It doesn't mean I don't have compassion for this person, but I'm not going to give my precious fucks to someone who's spiraling. That doesn't mean we can't acknowledge it and empathize and have grace for someone, but you don't have to hold space. You don't have to pour into every person who's struggling, who wants to pick your brain, who just wants 1 minute of your time, who wants to get in an argument with you on social media. It's not worth it, because then you're not going to have any of those precious fucks left for the people, places, and things that really matter in your life. And I saved this one for last for a really important reason. Is the reason I'm able to run 2 businesses. One's an 8-figure business, one's a multiple 7-figure business. And why I'm able to do this while working part-time isn't just because I have a team that I've developed and blah, blah, blah. You see how much content and high value content I put out there. I don't have like some bot that's pretending to be me. It's really me, right? And how I can do it with joy, and how I can do it with delight, and how I can do it with love is because I am taking care of my fucks, and I am intentionally giving it to the things that matter, to the things that give me a return on joy, right? Like return on investment in money. return on investment in joy, return on investment in serenity, return on investment in healing. Those are the things that I want you to reserve those for. But I feel you need a reminder, because if you've spent a lifetime giving these away, and maybe you learned it from someone, you learned it from a parent and you watched them do it. Maybe it's cultural and you've been taught, like, if you're really a good person, right, you give everything away, the shirt off your back kind of a thing. You need to have a visual reminder. And that's why I do the ZFG, zero fucks given. I give merch to my mastermind students. We do it for giveaways. I need to make a point of having my merch line stuff for sale. But even you putting ZFG on a Post-it note, put it in your wallet, put it on your mirror, write it on a Sharpie on the inside of your wrist. It could be that simple, just to remind you that you're like, oh, what am I doing here? Is this really a good use of my energy? Is this really worth getting all wound up about? Is this really worth going sideways about? And it takes practice. It's not like all of these things you're just going to perfect overnight, because most of them have come from behaviors and habits that you've been doing a long time. Like I shared mine. But you want something different. You have got to become a different version of yourself. That doesn't mean you yourself at your current state aren't worthy of abundance and aren't worthy of making more and working less. But your current operating system, the operating system that has got you where you are at now, is not the same operating system that's going to get you and generate the results at a higher level. So we've got to install new programs. We got to debug what hasn't been working, which is exactly what I take you through step by step in detail, in a fun way, in a healing way, in a transformational way inside my Make More, Work Less guided workbook video course. I have it in 3 sections. There's 5 videos and there's a 70+ page workbook that takes you through it. And it's designed to be fun. Picture an adult activity book that is all around this stuff. And you can also, if you're not someone who wants to watch the videos, we've also included the audios as well. So you can go for a walk, you can work out and listen. Take some kind of action for yourself. I wouldn't have dedicated an entire episode to these 4 things if this isn't what works. The sad thing is there's a large majority of people listening who aren't going to implement these, even though I'm telling you, this is where it's at. And any multi-millionaire, any mega millionaire worth hundreds of millions of dollars who I'm either friends with, have had conversations with, I've coached, I've worked with, all 4 of these, they would absolutely nod their head with 100% agreement that they do these 4 things. This is what's behind the curtain of the abundance that you want. I can't make you do it. I can point you there. I can lead you there. I can encourage you to be there. I can communicate it in the best way possible, but you have to take it and you have to run with it. And that's your choice. And we're here, right? We're at the end of another year. Do you want the same cycle to repeat in 2024? No, you don't. So time to embrace something different. And these 4 things are your starting point. Now you can no longer say, I don't know what to do next. I don't know where to start. These 4 things and get the damn workbook course. You go to projectmewithtiffany.com/make more work less. Share this episode with someone who you know will appreciate it. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That means so much to the show. If you only have a moment to tap the 5 stars, which takes a half a second, you can do that. You want to go a step further and share your appreciation and gratitude for the show, then leave a written Apple Podcast review of the show. If you don't know how to do that, you can Google it. I didn't know how to do it at first either, but I love showing my appreciation for shows, for restaurants, for service-based professionals, for my coaches, because when you're saying you want all this goodness and abundance back and testimonials and reviews for your stuff back, we've got to check ourselves and go, when was the last time I did that for the people, the services, the content, the things that I really value in my life? We have to check ourselves. So if that didn't guilt you enough into doing it, I don't know what to tell you. Wishing you great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.